Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
What's up?
Today is Monday, October 4th. We're coming in after Week 4 fantasy football this week. I know last week we didn't get a video out on Sunday and Saturday like we usually do, but that's just because some of the files got corrupted, so it wasn't able to come out, but that's why it's important to follow us on Instagram and everything and social media, because we did end up getting some stuff tweeted out and posted so you could see who we thought our starts and our sits were for the week. But we're going to work on making sure that doesn't happen again. But Week 4 is kind of interesting week this week. A lot of things happen. I feel like this was one of the more consistent weeks in fantasy that we've had since kind of Week 1. We still had a lot of our highs and our lows with everybody. But starting out with just a quick question. What do you think about the Arizona Cardinals, Tim? Putting that whipping on the Rams.
My lock was the Rams -4. Did not see that coming. I thought the Cardinals would have a kind of a setback. They're playing a good team, and they really went after them. No one really had like a great game. Their defense really stepped up. Hopkins, like I said, had a good game. He had AJ Green with the big touchdown.
Yeah.
Chase Edmonds had
120 yards, but
another good game, but nothing where no one stood out. I think all around the Cardinals are a really good team, and they're actually favored right now to win the NFC West. And I mentioned, when we talked about the beginning of the season before the season started, they were 6-1 odds to win the West. And now they're favored, I think, by 47%. They have a chance of winning that division. That's
surprising with everything going on there. The Rams looked so good last week against the Buccaneers, so I'm very interested to see if the Cardinals can carry this throughout the year, because I know for a while they got really hot there last year as well, and they slowed down a lot. I feel like the West is just one that kind of flip up and down. They go back and forth, but to me, I think they have the two best teams in football right now, and minus I think the Bucs are up there, and then you throw in the Bills too.
Yeah.
So.
And then next week they play the 49ers, who will have a rookie QB. They'll play at Cleveland and then against Houston, so they can easily win 2 of those 3 games right there.
Easily. So yeah. So their team definitely keep an eye out for. But it's just a lot went on this weekend. A lot of good games. A lot of interesting games this week. Jets pulled out their first W. We had Browns, Minnesota. That game was a dud of all duds. Only 14-7. Browns coming out on top of that. But I feel like we saw a lot of good teams. And I think the biggest surprise for me out of everything is how good the Dallas Cowboys defense looks. The Trayvon Diggs has 5 interceptions. He has an interception in every single game this year. And he just looks like a lockdown corner in their second year, and their pass rush is tenacious, and they just get after it. So, to me, they're like my biggest surprise from what they were last year with how bad that defense was. It just shows that, like Dan Quinn, a lot of people forget that he was a really good defensive coordinator before he got the head coaching job at Atlanta. So to me, it was just shocking to see how he translated and has turned this defense into someone that can stop people. The only team they really couldn't stop was the Buccaneers,
but nobody's really stopped
it. Week 1
last night. But yeah, Kellen Moore, offense coordinator, he probably will become a head coach sometime in the near future. Yeah. They've just been running the ball.
Yeah,
Dak only threw the ball 22 times. We'll talk about one of their wide receivers had a disappointing week, but between Zeke and Pollard right now, they're just really running down people's throats. Right now. So I think right now Zeke's the running back 4 in fantasy, so he's doing what he needs to do, and they're winning games by actually a good amount. They won by 8, but that was a 2-score game throughout the whole game.
The score doesn't reflect what it really was. So those were kind of the biggest surprise that stuck out to me this week, and the Jets getting that first win, which I should have known that was a trappy game all along.
That was the Titans. This is what the Titans do.
And it's just they win games they shouldn't win. They lose games they shouldn't. So it's just something with the Titans that never changes. But let's go ahead and move into then some of the news that has happened. So really, it's just a weekly injury report every week. Montgomery with the big game, 2 touchdowns, and then he gets hurt in the fourth quarter. I think third or fourth quarter with that knee sprain. They haven't come out with anything yet, have they?
No, they're still doing
MRIs and everything.
Yeah, but they don't expect it to be a torn ACL. But he will miss some weeks, but it doesn't look like it will be the whole season. Not 100% sure on that, but it at least looks like it's not a torn ACL.
That's good because a sprain is going to aggravate him, but that's something that can heal 2-3 weeks. They rehab, do whatever, he'll be back in. So he's definitely one to keep an eye out for. Damian Williams is his backup. I just don't know. I wouldn't go spending my whole money on Damian Williams because I don't really. It's the Bears. It's just you can't really trust them a whole lot. I think they shouldn't even won this week, but the Lions gave that game to them by fumbling like twice in the
red zone and turnovers on down 2 more times in the red zone. So
they couldn't get it in. So to me, it's just I don't know. That was big. Mixon came on Thursday, was having a pretty solid performance. I think he had 17 carries, touchdown, 60+ yards. Then he sprained he's got a low ankle sprain.
Low ankle sprain week to week. Not much more about that. So it's something to look later on around Thursday or Friday, see if he's practicing, see what they're kind of expecting for next week.
Yeah, and that's what, for me, it's Bengals don't really have, I don't even know who their backup is this year because it's usually Giovanni Bernard, but he's out.
It starts with a P.
P. Ryan, that's who it is.
Yep.
So, yeah, they have him. You can go pick him up just a handcuff, but to me, I'm just thinking.
I think they'll throw the ball. I think if T. Higgins is back, they're not going to run the ball a whole lot.
And that's what, Mixon. Yeah, I agree.
Against Green Bay, they might be able to.
They're going to have to score and keep up. Yeah, so I agree there. Mixon, low ankle sprain. That's just something I think it's going to bother him rest of the year. It's kind of like with our next guy that was dinged up a little bit, Dalvin Cook. He played the first. I think he played through the whole first quarter. Tweaked his ankle again the second quarter, but he did end up coming back in the fourth quarter and having 4 or 5 more carries in the fourth quarter. So I'm not really sure if it was just like a precautionary thing or...
It could have just been limited, especially when you have Madison behind him.
Yeah. So they're playing a pretty good run defense in the Browns, so it's just, to me...
Yeah, just something to keep an eye on. Just kind of look out through the week just to see if he'll be 100% or if you feel like he might be limited again. Maybe to get that handcuff for a different option for next week.
So Dalvin Cook was one. DJ Chark went on the IR. He broke his ankle within like 3 plays on Thursday night. So he's out, which I think that bumps up Laviscus and Marvin Jones Jr.'s value a little bit more on that team.
Shenault, he really had a good game. He was being targeted a lot. So you can see him. James Robinson's coming back into form and really running the ball. So should be interesting to see how that turns out. And
after all this stuff from the weekend with old Urban Meyer and the young ladies at the bar. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going to happen there. But yeah, DJ Chark injury, I think it only encourages those guys on the Jaguars more. Will Fuller, no shocker here, is hurt again. He broke his hand on Sunday. Yeah. Is it hand or finger? I think he broke his finger. I think it's just his finger. But that's something to keep an eye out for.
Week to week, just kind of monitor, see how he can.
I feel like he'll be out for 2 weeks, and then he might come back in. He's just always hurt to me. That's interesting. And we already touched on it a little bit. Trey Lance getting his first start this week because Jimmy G went out, I think, in the third quarter with a calf injury.
Yep, he'll be out a couple weeks. Yep. And we'll see if he comes back or not just because.
They put him on the IR, didn't they?
I don't think not yet, at least.
Okay. So that's something to keep an eye out for there for sure with him with Trey Lance. To me, I'm picking up Trey Lance, I think, if he's available in a lot of leagues. If I'm a one quarterback kind of like I have him on my team and I can maybe lose a guy, to me, I would go pick up Trey Lance because of what Kyle Shanahan can do as a coach. So those were all the injuries that we have written down. Is any more that we're forgetting?
No, not that I know of. Just kind of look out like you had Elijah Mitchell, Higgins, and Shepard out last week. Just kind of look at those. I know Brown, Julio. Jacobs is actually playing tonight. He just said he's active. So
to me, that one's going to be interesting. And I don't think he'll get the workload that he normally does. So it's going to be interesting to see there. But I think that is all so far that we've got now. So let's go ahead then and transition on into our booms and busts of the week. Booms we'll start with first. Now, I feel like there's a lot of these, and some of these guys are people who have been performing consistently, kind of, and then just people came out of nowhere. Like for our first guy, he's doing this every week with Tyreek Hill. He put up 49.6 points in fantasy PPR this week. He had 11 catches on 12 targets, 186 yards. And then he had 3 touchdowns to go along with it.
Yeah, Tyreek is back this week. The unfortunate thing is Tyreek and Travis Kelce, it's either or. It seems like they're both not having a great game. We'll talk about Travis Kelce later. But it just seems like Tyreek Hill's having a great game. Travis Kelce does not. It kind of goes back and forth, especially when you have Clyde getting some touches as well, scoring a touchdown, I think.
Looks like Clyde's finally getting involved in that offense too, which is
the weird thing is, this week was his lowest snap count. It was like 52%. Really? But like he's actually playing good.
He put up his best performance. Yeah, 2 touchdowns, I think, which they have 2 or 1.
He only had 1, but he could have had 2. I think he was a yard short of the second one.
So to me, they're getting him involved more. I think they want to spread out a lot more. And we actually just got an update real fast before we do anything. Is Shanahan said there's a chance that Jimmy G does play on Sunday.
Yeah, not to rule him out.
So that's something to keep an eye out for. To me, I don't know. I feel like they're just going to play safe.
Kind of keep
That's Shanahan just keep messing mind games.
Yeah,
not knowing.
Exactly.
So that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, so we'll get back Tyreek Hill, like you said, huge week for him. Now this was definitely a boom week for him. You don't expect this each week for him, but you do expect him to get these kind of targets every week.
Yep, he should be a top 5 wide receiver in this points. Yeah, with these kind of games. So people that were worried about him the last 2 weeks, you can now rest easy because
that's what. To me, he was never a worry. You should never worry about a guy like him. He's going to get everything. He plays with the best quarterback in the league, one of the most dynamic offenses right now. So that was a big performance. Chiefs, I think, finally looked better on offense than they have in the past 2 weeks. I feel like they were getting in a rhythm. It wasn't just pass. They were finally intertwining the run, making it a more balanced attack, and I think that's going to end up helping them in the long run and helping that offensive line out too, because that was a big question mark going into the year. So I think the more that you see Edwards-Helaire, you're only going to continue to see these numbers go up with Tyreek and Kelce. So it's just no surprise here.
It was one of those must wins for the Chiefs. I think going down to 1
and 2. You can't go 1 and 3 and try to win that division.
I didn't bet that game, but now that I think about it, that seemed like a really easy bet, -7. Just because
it's in Philly, you just never know.
Yeah,
Chiefs. I feel like Mahomes hasn't. He's covered like 2 out of something.
It's literally they haven't covered all year or something like that. Like 1 out of the last 12.
It's something bad.
But it's just one of those games that they were going to do that. But
So Tyreek Hill's our number 1 boom for this week. Let's go down to our number 2. This guy's kind of been one that's consistently doing this week in and week out right now. He did have a lower week last week, but that's just because you can't really predict what's going to happen. You can't expect him to do this every week, but that's Deebo Samuel with the 49ers. Put up 37.7 points, 8 catches, 12 targets, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns this week for the 49ers.
Yeah, the big catch was when he had the 80-yard touchdown when it was a broken coverage.
Yep.
So it is kind of a padded stat. He didn't do a whole lot outside of that, but it's still 2 touchdowns. Still had those 12 targets. You would think after last week they might be going to Ayuk a little bit more, but this week it was back to all Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is they loved Deebo last year, but he got hurt and Deebo couldn't stay on the field. And then you had Kittle, who was off and on being injured all last year as well. So I think that's where we saw the big bump in Ayuk's numbers, and now I think you're getting back to where the 49ers really wanted to be.
Yep.
And that's with Deebo Samuel getting him the ball. He's a big physical wide receiver, and you just want to get the ball in the guy's hands like that. And he's super athletic. So to me, it's just you're seeing what the 49ers have wanted. And if you pick up Deebo, Deebo was going, 6th, 7th round?
He was 2 rounds behind
Ayuk. Ayuk was like 5th. So
5th, 6th, and it was like 7th, 8th.
So to me, he's a steal of the draft. He's playing out of his mind, putting up numbers that are great for a guy who you expected to maybe be a flex option here or there. So I think he's going to continue to put up large numbers each week. Now, this 37, no, but I can see 15, 25, like 15, 25 each week being his floor being like 10, 15 points, which is good. I mean, if you're going to play that, you can't expect 20 every week out of guys. Yeah. But if on a bad week he's still getting me 12 points or something, I'll take that. So I think that's going to continue. I think it's only going to grow more with Trey Lance, but I'm kind of curious to see if Ayuk's role grows at all with Trey Lance in this performance.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Ayuk does with Trey Lance. Or honestly, what if it's working for the 49ers, they should just stick with it. But I know you have a stronger passer in Trey Lance, so you might see more deep ball shots. So you really never know.
Yeah, and that's what and they use his feet, so they might try to do a little bit more RPO options and everything with Trey Lance. So that's our number 2 boom. Number 3 boom, which is he was a guy who really isn't on the field a whole lot.
30% snap.
That's what I think. Out of like 57, he was on the field for maybe 22 or 24.
Yeah, it's very low.
So it's not a lot, and that's Cordarrelle Patterson with the Atlanta Falcons put up 36.6 points this week, 6 rushes for 34 yards. But what really turned it was having 5 catches on 6 targets with 82 yards and then 3 receiving touchdowns this week. Just, I would, and
what would you do with Cordarrelle Patterson? Would you, if
I have him, I think I'm selling him.
You're selling him right now? You're not going to try to play him?
No. I'm in.
And then if you don't, are you going to go look for him, or are you trying to?
To me, I think this is something that's not going to continue because what has he done the last 2 weeks?
So last week he had 16 points at 42% snap count. He had seven targets with 6 catches. The week before that had 23 points, 7 attempts rushing, 5 catches on 7 targets with a touchdown. He is right now running back number 2 in fantasy
for PPR.
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't know if this could stay up because like last week he was pretty much coming on the field, or the Sunday was coming on the field for passing plays, and that was it. Like you're not doing a whole lot there with that, but I mean if I have him and I want to try to sell right now before it goes south, I'd sell high. But if you want to hold him and you continue to play him, you might see it dwindle down. But that's just it's a risk reward that you're willing to take because Mike Davis is still on the field a lot too. It's just
he's the exact definition of a boomer bust.
Yeah, and that's what I don't know. To me, if I have him, I think I'm selling just to see what I can. Just chest in the market, see what I can get for him right now.
Yeah, I would too. I would sell, but make sure you're not just trading him to trade him. Don't sell to that person that's just like, oh, it's Cordarrelle Patterson, so I'm not giving up much. Like, so if you want to trade him, don't undersell him, but also I would make sure you try to sell him. If you have draft picks, trade him for draft picks, something like that. Just get good value out of him.
That's what I agree. It's just you gotta try to trade him right now. Use him because I don't see this production continuing all year. And if it does, that's bad on us. And congrats on you holding him and sticking out with it. But I just feel like he's a guy that's people are going to start keying when he's on the field more and realizing that they're going to try to get the ball in his hands out of the backfield because he's not really rushing a whole lot. It's mainly the passing and catching. So that's where his big thing is. So now let's go ahead and move on to I'm pretty sure the leading rushing touchdown guy, right, of this year.
Yeah, I heard he's the first quarterback to have 5 rushing touchdowns in 4 games.
4 games, and that's Sam Darnold. 31.5 points this past week. He was 26 for 39 with 301 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing attempts, and then 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, I know one of his passing touchdowns came at the end of the game. Dallas was just kind of sitting back and letting it go, but still, he's putting up 27, 25 points there. If that doesn't happen, and you're seeing a great performance out of a guy that you wouldn't expect to do this week in and week out.
QB5 right now. So I don't think the rushing touchdowns will keep happening. I don't think it'll
continue, but it might with.
He's found a good target in DJ Moore. DJ Moore, 2 touchdowns, probably could have 2 more. He could be on this boom right now. If Sam Darnold's having a good game, so is DJ Moore.
And that's what I think you saw. People who own Robbie Anderson are probably super pissed and annoyed right now.
Terrence Marshall didn't even have a good game.
No, and it's all Sam Darnold has found his receiver in DJ Moore. And I feel like Rule has forced this offense to be run through DJ Moore, and especially with McCaffrey out, DJ Moore is going to be the guy. But I think having Sam Darnold makes this team much better. Now, I know they did get beat they lost by 8, but I think it was a sound win by the Cowboys, but I think Sam Darnold can continue putting up numbers like this each week because, let's see, they play, their division is the Saints, the Bucks, and the last team, I always forget them. Is it no, it's not Jacksonville.
Who the Panthers played already?
Saints, but no, who's in their division? Saints, Bucks,
Panthers, and then
Atlanta.
Right? Falcons, yeah.
So, all not great passing defenses. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I think besides the Saints, I think you'll continue to see Sam Darnold have success with them. And the rushing touchdowns could potentially stay with the fact that people are going to try to key McCaffrey. So, I don't know. He's one that I think if you're looking for a second QB or trying to replace the QB in a deeper league, I think Sam Darnold's a guy that you want to go pick up right now. So
yeah, I 100% agree. I'm looking at him. I'm trying to see what he's rostered. I think it's around the 40% mark that he's rostered. So there is a good chance that you can go and pick him up. Right now he's actually 44% on Sleeper. And so number 5 QB, there's a good chance that he's still available and go pick him up and do kind of the spot start. Like he plays the Eagles next week, who are giving up good points to QBs, and then he plays the Vikings, and then the Giants and the Falcons. So
all good teams coming up 4.
And the buys are about to start happening as well. So if you had a quarterback on an early buy, Sam Darnold, pick him up now.
So Sam Darnold was our 4th one. Then our 5th guy we have is CJ Uzomah with the Bengals, who put up 26.5 points. He had 5 catches on 6 targets, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was on the field for 83% of the snap count.
Yeah, that was the highest he was on the field for the whole season by far. But T. Higgins was out.
Yep, T. Higgins was out.
But when the Bengals had to pass a lot, because that was all in the second half, Bengals looked terrible the first half.
Yeah.
Mixon wasn't doing a whole lot, and then he got hurt. Actually, that was late, but Burrow, when he was scrambling, trying to find something, CJ was always available. Threw to him, got those 2 touchdowns.
And I feel like he's kind of like that. This past weekend it was against a bad Jacksonville defense, which it is, but he was catching the ball, and it was mainly after their reception he was getting yards. They did that screen pass. I think it went for 20-plus yards. And I think you're going to – I don't know if he'll continue to put up numbers like this, but –
he had 0 last week.
Yeah.
So it's
just like hit or miss. T. Higgins coming back, I think that takes away a lot from Uzomah, especially because how dynamic T. Higgins is. And I think you're finding more in Jamar Chase. So this might just be a guy – it's just like if you had him for some odd reason – He did a great pick.
This was more of a daily fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Because people, when you do those on Thursday nights, and he was very low owned, so everyone that had him was probably in the money.
Yep, so CJ Uzomah.
Tie in for the Bengals, yep.
That rounds out, he's going to round out our booms for this week. We'll go over them again. Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Cordarrelle Patterson, Sam Darnold, and CJ Uzomah. Great week for those guys. Let's go ahead and move into some of our busts this week. Starting out with a guy who's kind of had 2 very disappointing performances in back-to-back weeks. CeeDee Lamb with the Cowboys this week, only giving you 3.3 points with 2 catches on 5 targets for 13 yards. And I think this is a downfall to the fact that the Cowboys running so much. And I think the Cowboys are just loving their tight ends right now. And they're in a good matchup for tight ends against the Panthers as well. So, I don't know. To me, seeing these numbers, is it something to be worried about? Or
honestly, I'm not worried about it because just the Cowboys are really good right now. So they're taking the lead out front, and then they're just running the ball down people's throats. Yeah. Like I said, Dak only threw the ball 22 times. And so when you have Amari Cooper, I think Amari had a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he had some targets, and you have Shultz getting more targets, and you had Irwin with the touchdown as well. So that's tough for CeeDee Lamb. Jarwin. What's his?
Blake Jarwin?
I know. Why did I say Irwin? Who was I thinking of? I don't know. But anyways, It's just really hurting CeeDee Lamb. He had a bad week last week, another bad week this week. I think once they play maybe a little bit better teams, kind of like how they did against the Bucs, where they had to throw the ball a ton. That's when CeeDee Lamb's going to have a great week, and hopefully turn this around because it's getting. I'm not worried yet, but if he has another week like that, then it kind of becomes a little worrisome.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I wouldn't worry too much. It's just when they're running the ball as successfully as they've been, and Zeke has looked really well, Pollard has looked well. It's just hard to get the ball out of their hands, and especially when you're up against a good team like the Panthers. You want to run it as best you can, and why go away if it's not broke? So I wouldn't worry too much about CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to continue to. This offense is going to come around. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. I think the defense has helped a lot taking the ball away in these short yardages. Because, Cowboys have had very short yardages. You're looking at coming in from the 40 or the 30. You don't need to pass the ball as much when you're doing that. So, I don't know. I'm not worried. I think he'll continue to grow and he'll bounce back. But, yeah, it's definitely very interesting to see what's going to happen with him and how the Cowboys look. But, yeah, 2 weeks in a row is just – but, yeah, if it continues to happen, it's something to put a red flag by. The next guy we have here, I think this is his first time for this year and probably for a while being on one of the bust lists, and that's Travis Kelce, only giving you 6.3 points this week. He had 4 catches on 6 targets with 23 yards receiving. And if you're a Travis Kelce owner, welcome to the world of a tight end. Welcome to a normal life of a tight end owner. Jeez Louise. But, yeah. I don't know. This is I would look right past it as 1 week. He's going to bounce back. He'll be fine. I wouldn't worry too much about this, so.
I'm not worried either. It's just one of those things where Tyreek had all the touchdowns and all the catches. So
Eagles, they do a good job guarding tight ends, so it's just I wouldn't worry. Nothing to be worried about with him. It's just a down week, weird week for Travis Kelce. Next guy we have is Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady put up 11.06 points, 22 for 43 on 269 yards. 0 touchdowns, and I think a lot of this was a factor of not having Rob Gronkowski on the field.
Yeah, he was. You can tell he was trying to go to Brate a lot, and it just wasn't working.
No,
it was just not on the same page. It was also very bad weather, so there's kind of they wanted to run the ball some more, but you just don't have that great of running backs. So it was a very big defensive battle. So I'm not worried about this yet. Tom Brady's still quarterback number 3 in fantasy. So I don't expect him to put up these points really anymore. It's just the circumstance of the whole being back at Gillette Stadium and
that's what I would say though.
And everything like that.
If Gronk continues to be out, I think that's something that is worrisome because he does rely on him so much in the red zone. I know you have Mike Evans there as well, but you could just tell Brady when he's rolling out or trying to find somebody, he was lost looking for Gronk out there, and that's what I don't know. It's if he's going to be out longer, maybe that's something you look away for. Because if I feel like they'll pick up where they left off, but just in case something happens with Gronk and he can't get in a rhythm with somebody else, it's something to keep an eye out for. But I expect him to pick up, get touchdowns again. Wet ball, Brown did drop one that he usually doesn't drop.
Brown had almost 2 touchdowns there at the end, so it's a different story if he catches those.
So to me, it's nothing to worry too much. It's just down week for Brady, and if you're playing him, you're super disappointed because you're not getting that 30 points that you've been expecting out of him. Next guy we have here is another tight end who was probably drafted top 3 rounds for sure. And that is George Kittle with 8 points on 4 catches on 11 targets with only 40 yards, no touchdowns. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of how the 49ers day went. He had those 11 targets. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah.
I think he was actually pretty close. If he catches 1 or 2 of those, they go for touchdowns. So just 8 points out of what we were expecting to be a top 3 tight end. You're taking him early. You just need more out of that. He's been kind of frustrating this year.
Yep.
But I'm still not worried about it with that 11 targets. It's going to be interesting to see what Trey Lance does with him, though.
That's what I'm curious to see what kind of offense are going to come out with Trey Lance. And I feel like if Trey Lance is in there, you might see a bump in his touchdowns with Kittle because around the goal line, Trey Lance is a runner. So they might try to key in and do a lot more like play action, pass plays to free up Kittle in the end zone. So, to me, that's something I think is going to be big. He might benefit a lot more with Lance being in there than he is with Jimmy G. So, I'm interested to see how this first week goes if Lance and him have a good connection off the bat. But I think you're looking at the targets. I wouldn't be too concerned. He's going to get those looks. It's just right now everything's going to Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
So, and if you're the 49ers, you're taking away Kittle because you're playing the 49ers, you're going to take away Kittle because he's one of their best options on offense.
Yep.
So, he was another bust for us this week. Chris Godwin with 8.5 points, 3 catches on 5 targets, 55 yards. This was a down game.
It's just kind of the same thing with Tom Brady. He can't find that.
They were going to Mike Evans a lot early.
Antonio Brown. So when they're both on the field, Chris Godwin, I know I haven't, and I don't think you have been big fans of Chris Godwin, of where you're actually drafting him at and the production you actually get from him. So another down week from him.
He gives you good weeks, bad weeks, but it's so tough for me with Evans out there, Brown, Gronk. Yeah. It's just where's his looks going to come from.
Between that and then Fournette's been getting the ball a lot. He's been thrown the ball too. So someone has to have a down week, and it looks like Chris Godwin's been having more of those than the other ones.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how that looks with the rest of the year. I know as we're saying this, he's probably going to put up like 20-plus points this week. 100% he will. But it's just something to keep an eye out for. I mean, if you have him, you're going to keep him. You're going to play him every week. It's just you're going to take that risk with all the people on their team. So with all their weapons that they have. So that is our 5th guy, and our last guy here we're going to move into is Myles Gaskin, who I know if you have him, you expected him. You saw what he did last year. You expect him to kind of pick up where he left off. They didn't draft any running backs. But, man, has this just been a bad bust year for him right now. And I don't think it has anything to do with Gaskin's ability. I think it all has to do with Flores, the Dolphins room, and what they're trying to establish. His percentages of being on the field have gone down drastically. I think the first week he was like 53, and we're all the way down to 23% of the snap counts.
Yep. He was at 54 week 1, 61 week 2, 52 week 3, and then 23% this week.
And to me, this is the most mind-blowing thing. I can't wrap my head around what Mike Flores is doing. If you go look at Malcolm Brown's thing, this guy is a freaking puffball. He's the worst running back I've ever seen run the ball that consistently gets the start on a team. Like, when you looked at, there's a reason why Malcolm Brown did not play in L.A. He had like 2 good games, but he eventually got passed over. What did he put up this week?
So this week, Malcolm Brown had 3.7 points, was on the field 67%, ran the ball 8 times for 23 yards. That's 2.88 yards per carry.
He got stuffed on the goal line twice again.
Yep. And he had the 1 touchdown last week when they ran him, but that's the only touchdown. Like week 1 had a 3.2 yard per carry. Week 2 and 3 was 4.2-ish.
And it's just aggravating. I mean, I do have Gaskin. I don't really need him. He's on my bench. But you look at him and you look at this offense. I'm sure Dolphins fans are like over it as well. Because I did go look at some Twitter of what people are saying. They cannot stand the fact that he's not getting on the ball. And they're saying it's because he's a bad pass blocker, bad pass protector. And to me, I just feel like Malcolm Brown's not going to give you any much more. You need a guy that's going to be a nice threat out of the backfield, 4%, or a young guy like Tua when he gets back, but it's just mind-blowing to see this guy continue to go down after where he was last year. And after the first weeks, you saw potential of him being a good candidate to start in this team and for them. So
it's really mind-blowing. I really don't know what else to say about it. I just turn on, anytime I'm on Red Zone, there's Malcolm Brown in the red zone getting stuffed at the goal line again.
If I could call Brian Flores right now, I'd have my way with him. I cannot stand that human being right now as a pass caller or a play caller and what they're coming up with and why he thinks freaking Malcolm Brown is their answer. Like, Ahmed's fine, but to me, Malcolm Brown is the worst Worst option you could ever put on the football field. So that's going to round out our bust for this week. There were some more, but these I think were some of the more mind-blowings. My last question here, I forgot to ask Gaskin, you dropping him or are you holding on to him?
I would.
Do you give it a week or two, or do you just say I'm done?
I'm still giving it a week because how much, if I would draft him, how much, because you probably got him in the 5th or 6th round, so you're holding on, because the Dolphins got to change something. They're not winning games.
Yeah.
A really big disappointment for me was Jalen Waddle. I thought Waddle was going to have himself a great week between the Colts giving up a lot of touchdowns to wide receivers, how much targets he's getting, and he just really disappointed. So the Dolphins got to change something up. Maybe that's going to Myles Gaskin. And if it's not, I maybe give it one more week. And if it's still not there next week, I'm done.
And you're giving him up.
Trade him as like just a little bit of value to someone. Maybe someone really likes him.
Yeah, sell low if you can. Just try to get him out.
Just get him off your lineup so he's not a headache to you anymore.
So I don't know. It's a tough call. It's kind of what you're going to do with him. You can't really trade him for much because people have seen what's going on and they're not going to give you whatever.
Trade him to the guy in your league that's more about names than production. So maybe someone that is a Dolphins fan or someone that knows Myles Gaskin had him last year. Maybe you get a little bit extra value to him.
Yeah, so that's going to round out our bust for this week. Now let's go ahead and move over real quick to who are your 3 or 2 or 3 waiver pickups for this week. Who do you got here? Who's your number 1?
So my number 1 is going to be it's going to be Sam Darnold. I think you need to go get him now unless you have Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, something like that. Go pick up Sam Darnold, 44%. That's still only rostered. So go pick him up. And even if you have one of those guys and their bye weeks are coming up, have him on the bench now for a week or two, and he's ready to go. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for the rest of the year. Will be a top 10 quarterback.
I agree. Sam Darnold's definitely one I think you're seeing a lot more of. Mm-hmm. And we've already talked about him. He's going to continue to see that growth and perform well, so he should definitely be a good pickup if you're looking for a quarterback, and especially bye weeks coming up. Why not just stash him? Use him as trade bait, might as well. For me, what I would do for a pickup guy right now, and this is kind of it really depends on what you're looking at. He is 75% rostered, but it's James Conner with the Cardinals. And that's because he is their red zone threat, their goal line guy. He has had 4 touchdowns over the last 2 games, and that's only going to continue, I think, with them. And the threat of Kyler Murray running really benefits him being that guy. So I think you got to go pick him up if you want to, especially if Edmonds, maybe handcuff him. Hold them both in case one of them gets hurt.
It's tough when you're Chase Edmonds because he had a great week, but if James Conner's not there, think about the week he could have had.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing him go for 2 touchdowns, and then 2 weeks ago he went for 2 touchdowns again. So I agree with that pickup. That might be someone to go pick up off the waiver wire or trade for.
Trade for, yeah, especially if you're hurting that running back. I know he's touchdown dependent, but you got to make a move to get him. So that's my first guy. My second guy, actually, I'm going to go to is 27% rostered. He's been hurt the last 3 weeks. This is with the New York Jets. It's Jamison Crowder. I know you can't really trust a Jets receiver, but I feel like a nice slot guy like Jamison Crowder is something that you can rely on each week. He had 7 catches on 9 targets last week, 61 yards and a touchdown. I just feel like he's going to be their go-to guy, and the slot's going to help, I think, Wilson get the ball out quickly, which is something he's been struggling with. And him only being 27% roster, we saw what he did last year. He put up some great numbers for a guy on a really bad team. I think he's going to continue to do that. So I would roster him, hold him, and he'd be like a flex 2 or a late flex, like a flex option depending on matchup. Like he's playing Atlanta this weekend, so I think I would pick him up just to play if I needed a flex play him. So he's my number 2.
Yeah, that's someone you can pick up too and put on your bench so no one else has him. Just see how he fits in that system because they're coming off a win. There's going to be a lot of confidence in the Jets right now. Something to look forward to. Zach Wilson has a little bit more confidence, probably going to throw the ball a little bit harder. and wants to throw the ball around a little bit more. So Jameson Crowder, and if one of those other wide receivers get hurt, like you have Corey Davis might go down, maybe Elijah Moore, Crowder steps in right there. And I think it'll be a great pickup. My second one is going to be the tight end number 3, only 40% rostered, and that is Dalton Schultz. He has, the past 2 weeks, he's had 15 targets with 12 catches and 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
And I think it looks like Dak's really trying to involve him a lot more. Kellen Moore is making plays for him. He's even had Jarwin score or take a touchdown or 2 away from him. So I really like Schultz, especially when you're hurting for a tight end if you don't have those like top 3 or 4. You really need to find that good one. And he's only 40% rostered. So if he's available, I'd go pick him up right now.
That's what I agree. I think with Schultz, he's shown that he's really good. The only thing you got to worry about with Schultz is they are 2 tight ends, and you have Blake Jarwin in there as well. To me, it's interesting to see what's going to happen with those 2 and who's going to be the main guy, but it could just be because of matchups where you saw with Schultz, but because with the Eagles, they're not good at guarding tight ends. They're okay at it. They shut down Kelsey. I think their plan is to take Kelsey out. But I think Schultz, he's on a good passing offense, so it's a guy you can take a risk on.
Yeah, and everyone's so focused on passes again with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper that I think that's when Schultz kind of sneaks in right there.
And that's so my next guy is actually going to be someone who's 50% rostered. He's another tight end. And this is a guy that you can kind of go and get. It's Hunter Henry with the Patriots. We've seen the Patriots love to use a tight end. And the only thing that you might worry about is that he might become more touchdown dependent than you'd like as a tight end. But I think you're going to start to see him get more involved with this offense as it goes. And with Mac Jones, we saw he's fully capable of passing the ball, being a pass-first offense. And I think he's going to rely a lot more on Hunter Henry. And I think we're going to see them utilize Hunter Henry a lot more in the red zone. So, to me, Hunter Henry's a guy you should go pick up, and he's my last one for this week.
Yeah,
especially at that tight end position.
Yeah, I really like that. I know I think with Mac Jones, that's what they're going to be wanting to go to, especially in the end zone right there. He's a big target down there. The running game's kind of just disappeared, so you need to throw the ball, and I think that'd be a great pickup. I think he'll be very consistent for you. So my third one is actually going to be the running back for the Eagles, and it's not Miles Sanders. It's Kenneth Gainwell. He's rostered 44%, running back 24, and he's actually outscored Miles Sanders this year. He has 2 touchdowns, while Miles Sanders has 0. He's been kind of that third down back, and in the red zone, he's been utilized more. Last week he had 8 targets with 6 receptions for 458 yards, and then I had a rushing touchdown as well. Only on the field 40% of the time, and that is the most this whole year, but I believe that's going to kind of keep going up. I've hated Miles Sanders as a fantasy football owner because he's on the field, but then whoever's behind him seems to always sneakily takes away from him, especially when Miles Sanders has a bad game. He had 7 carries with 13 yards. That's it. Yeah. So I really think Gainwell is going to start becoming more of that red zone threat for the Eagles in third down and take a lot of that away from Sanders.
That's what I have Gainwell in a league, and he's exactly what you talked about. He's a guy that slowly, I think they're going to work in more. And he was talked about a lot in the offseason, but his ability to catch the ball in the backfield is what I think separates him from Miles Sanders, and it's something that I think you're going to see each week. I like Kenneth Gainwell, and I think if you're looking for a running back just to use during bye weeks or to sit and hold to see if he gets more involved in the run game, and you are in PPR, I think Kenneth Gainwell is a perfect option to go pick up because I think you're going to start seeing him get more involved in the red zone, and they're going to spread him out, do different passing things. So that is your last sleeper. Waiver wire pickup for week 4. One news we forgot to mention during the injury portion, Logan Thomas has a hamstring injury. We saw that first 3 plays.
That was tough for anyone that had him starting.
So that will do it for our Booms, Bust, and Waiver Pickups for this week. Let's go ahead and take a look at two. Sorry. Let's go ahead and take a step into our gambling corner.
Can't forget about the gambling.
We got college football here. Last week I was 2-0 with old Iowa putting the beat down on my Maryland. And then I also had Bama putting the beat down on Ole Miss, which was a very shocking game to everybody.
Yep, and I had Iowa as well, and then Cincinnati -1.
Who also won. So both 2-0 there last week. So let's go ahead and take a dive in. We got a big week here with Iowa, Penn State. Are you touching that game at all this week?
Yep, I am actually. One of my lines is going to be Iowa, and Iowa -2.
You have Iowa -2.
I think they're the real deal. I think they'll beat Penn State, so I'm going Iowa -2.
So this is what I'm going to do. I think Penn State's defense is too good. I think Iowa's quarterback is very bad. But I wouldn't touch this game, but if I were to... No, you know what? I am. I'm going to take Penn State money line to beat Iowa in Iowa. I love Iowa, love everything about them, but I think it's going to come down to the fact that Iowa's quarterback is terrible, and we haven't really seen him in a big game yet. Mm-hmm. He didn't look great against Iowa State. They ran the ball really well. So I think it's going to come down to that, and I think Penn State's defense is going to stop them, and I'm going to take Penn State straight money line here to win the game outright. So Penn State, for me, it's a 3 o'clock game. I'm taking them money line instead of the coverage. So that's something we're against each other here. What other game do you got for this week?
I have Michigan -3 against Nebraska. I know it might be. I feel like this is going to be
what?
-3.
Is it at Nebraska?
At Nebraska. That's why I think it's a trap game. But I love Michigan so much because they just beat Wisconsin, who's a bad team. But Nebraska is terrible. I know they covered against Michigan State, but Michigan's better than Michigan State.
Yeah, I would take that. And Michigan is definitely. I would take them -3 for sure against a team like Nebraska, who Illinois, the University of Illinois, beat them. Nebraska's, I think, a team that has lived off their name for far too long, and I think they're only going to continue to do that. You don't see them improve each week in and out of each week. So I'm going to ride with Michigan as well this week to beat Nebraska by 3. Let's see here.
So I have one more.
What's your last one?
My last one is going to be Kentucky at home -3 against LSU. I know Kentucky's coming off that big win against Florida. I actually, late that night, I took them money line and I took +7.5, and they hit bull. So that was pretty nice. I think it's going to be. This is something you look out for Kentucky, but I think they're a good enough team. They're going to beat LSU at home, and so I like that -3.
And so I was looking through this. You got Arkansas playing Ole Miss, 2 SEC teams that were previously ranked. Both just were beaten badly.
Yep.
Like Arkansas got embarrassed against Georgia. They didn't even score. So let's go ahead and just take a look at that game. Who do you think wins that game between those two?
I think Ole Miss does. I think
because it's in Oxford.
It's in Oxford, and they're used to doing that against Alabama. Arkansas didn't score a point against Georgia.
No.
And so I think they're really going to be questioning themselves, so I think Ole Miss comes out and wins that game.
That's what, to me, I feel it's going to be very tough for, I don't know, I'm interested to see how Arkansas is going to come back out. I'm going to try, I forgot, I lost their spread. They're 6.5-point dogs, Arkansas is. And to me, I just don't think Ole Miss is that good. I'm actually going to take Arkansas plus 6.5.
See, I don't hate that because I said Ole Miss is going to win. Doesn't mean I don't think they'll cover.
They'll cover, yeah. To me, I just think Ole Miss has kind of been overrated a little bit. I like Arkansas. I just think they faced a much better Georgia team. And
if you wait enough, I feel like people will be on the Ole Miss train because I'll bet Arkansas does. So you can maybe get that +7, +7.5 later down the road.
That's what. So yeah, I'm taking mine are going to be Arkansas plus 6.5, Michigan -3 against Nebraska. A very trappy game, but I think big brain, we got to do it.
Yeah.
It's Michigan -3. And then I'm actually going against you. I'm taking Penn State to go into Ames, Iowa, and upset the Hawkeyes.
And then I got Iowa -2 against Penn State, Michigan -3 against Nebraska, and then Kentucky -3 against LSU.
Okay. So that will wrap up our gambling corner here.
You want to do Thursday night?
Oh, Thursday night. Duh. Completely forgot.
Yep.
Before we do that, who are your must-starts for this Thursday?
So this Thursday, I really think Cooper,
it's the Rams and Seahawks.
Seahawks. I think for the Seahawks, I don't really know because Russell Wilson, they won, but he didn't have that great of a game.
You're going to play Russell. You're going to play DK.
Yeah, I honestly, if I'm the Rams, I'm looking more at must start is going to be Tyler Higbee, and just because of the Seahawks passing defense is not that great. That's someone I'm looking for because you're going to start your Cooper Kupp. You're even starting Robert Woods. I know you're kind of maybe struggling. Gerald Henderson must start, but I'm really looking at Tyler Higbee as going to be a good start for them.
That's right. My big question mark, I think, for this week is going to be what's Tyler Lockett going to do? He's fell back into that routine that we've seen him do year in and year out. Go off for 2 games and then just disappear for 3 or 4. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch for what's going to happen, but I think you're going to have to start any of these guys in this game this week. The only one that kind of concerns me, actually, no, Chris Carson had a bad week this week. I expect Seattle to come out and try to run the ball like we saw Chicago do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how successful they'll be, but Chris Carson, you got to put him in. I know the Rams defense didn't do great last week. And it kind of looked like Arizona just ran on them at will. Every running attempt they had was 5 yards or more, and they're just falling forward. So,
yep, the Rams are going to be a lot better offense than the 49ers brought because, like I said, Russell Wilson, 149 yards passing, had 2 touchdowns. And then he had a rushing touchdown as well. Alex Collins had a rushing touchdown. Didn't really run the ball a whole lot. Their leading receiver was Metcalf with 4 catches with 65 yards and a touchdown. So
the spread here is Rams -2.5. See, over/under set at 54. What are you thinking here? It's at Seattle too.
My bet right now, I only have one. I'm taking Rams -2.5. I think the Seahawks, they beat the 49ers by 7. I think the 49ers, with losing Jimmy G, they've been hurt. They're kind of just struggling a little bit, especially on defense, because they just have a bunch of injuries. Yes. I think the Rams come back, have a bounce-back week. They're pissed. They're going to beat the Seahawks. So I'm taking that -2.5.
That's what, yeah. I like that. I like Rams -2.5 here as well. To me, it's going to be interesting to see what it's going to look like for Seattle. I would take Cooper Kupp to catch a touchdown pass in this game as well. And I'm sure that over to me. What do you think? You touching 54 or are you going to go under?
I don't because I really think the Rams will have a better defense that can stop the Seahawks offense. I don't know. That's a lot. 54 is a lot of points.
It is. So, to me, we're both going to take the -2.5 with the Rams. And then I'm going to also do the props I'm going to take Cooper Kupp with the touchdown. And then I'm also going to take Van Jefferson. I know the line hasn't come out yet, but I would take his receiving yards over because I bet it will be around 30.
Yep.
And I would take that in a heartbeat, or maybe 40. I would still take over Van Jefferson. He's looked like he's kind of stepped in that number 2 role with Robert Woods struggling. So those would be my 3 picks for this week. And on Thursday, and our must start, you pretty much got to play everybody. I wouldn't really fade a whole lot, but it's just kind of going to be. You could look at maybe Gerald Everett being a sleeper guy for this week with the Seattle Seahawks.
And Swain.
Swain, yep.
So since Lockett's been out, he scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
So that's something to look towards also.
I would expect Tyler Lockett to have a stupid game this week.
Yep.
With DK probably getting the Jalen Ramsey call. So
yep.
That is our wrap-up show here. That was our Booms Bus, our picks of the week with college football. I feel like we've done a lot better on college football, and we do not watch college football as much as we watch NFL.
Yep, it's been because we just bet in Iowa.
Iowa, gotta roll. Except this week, go Penn State.
Yeah.
Any lines, baby. Well, yeah. So, thanks for all the support. If you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We do have a YouTube. I've come to a lot of people who don't know that. You can watch these if you want on YouTube as well. If you want, just go throw a subscribe on there as well for us. We'd appreciate it a lot. But other than that, we'll be back with our starts and sits for the week, and then as well as our predictions and some gambling. We promise to get it out because I did fix all the video stuff, so it should all save. But we appreciate all the support, and go check us out on everything. But we'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.